would be really, really difficult. So go home and thank your parents and your booster parents. Some quick announcements. Next Friday, the half day. Menchie's is doing a Writers Week fundraiser for us. So go and get your froyo on the half day. Okay, got plenty of time. Also, listen to the Right Life Writers Week podcast. Subscribe on iTunes. Please be sure to do that. You guys give Tech Crew a hand. They've been amazing this week. Crash and the crew. We just came off a variety show, so they've been very busy. Okay, so we get the honor of seeing this next set of writers. I love the student presenters, so let's give it up for Katie Haggard.
It's like a story about my real life, and it's just about all the times I have avoided death. Okay. If guardian angels are a real thing, then mine must be super stressed out. I mean, somehow in just 18 years, I have managed to avoid death more than several times. When I was just one, I was toddling around my grandparents' pool, and then, at the bottom of it, I was fine after a cough, and when I was about 6, I almost got into a car with a woman who was looking for her puppy. And one night, my parents went out on a date and left me with a babysitter who was the sweetest, but somehow failed to notice that during a very lively game of hide and seek, one of us had bumped the gas key and the house was slowly filling with very flammable gas. And I hadn't noticed a pattern by now, so I decided I wanted to learn how to ride horses. And I was thrown off my 3rd lesson and rolled just in time to dodge a kick from the horse. In 7th grade, one of my best friends was Paige McRoberts. Are you here? Hey! Okay, there she is. Okay. One of my best friends was Paige McRoberts, and I used to walk to her house after school, and we would pull some kind of prank on her sister's nanny. My mom had just made gluten-free cake, and I put some in a plastic container to bring to Paige because I am such a good friend. I could easily walk to her house, but there was one major problem, and that was that there was a house on the way with a very angry, snarly dog. And this was the kind of dog that would never play dead unless playing dead meant him playing with my dead body. And every time I would pass this dog on the way to her house, he would come running off his porch barking and get caught on his chain before he would get to me. But as I passed with the cake, it was quiet. I slowly peeked over my shoulder and saw a giant dog stalking me, and I knew at that very moment that dog was wondering what my blood tasted like. And every step I took, the dog also took a step. I started scrolling through my brain, trying to remember advice about being attacked by a dog, and I finally remembered something. The American Girl magazine advice column. I was 12. And I remembered that they had once said if you're being stalked by a dog, the best thing to do is to bark and scream like you're a dog. So I started going, back dog, back, bark, 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 bark. And he didn't move. So I'm sitting in the middle of the road screaming, and my only other option was to run. So I did, and of course, he chased me, and by now I was sobbing uncontrollably and clutching the cake close to me, and without thinking, I spun around and hurled the box of cake at the dog, hitting it perfectly in the face. I was sitting in the grass, shaking and crying, when a neighbor finally managed to corral the dog, and I was free. Best part? Paige wasn't even home. My sophomore year, my house was struck by lightning, which resulted in a fire, and 7 long months of living in hotels with friends, and eventually a condo. Then, the day after my sophomore prom, I was upside down in an SUV, struggling with my seatbelt and picking glass from the windshield out of my mouth and skin. Out of all my close calls, that was the only one where I actually felt like I was going to die. And my life didn't flash before my eyes, but life after me did. And I got serious. In those moments after the impact, when I was hanging upside down, checking my limbs and neck and my friend's neck, something in me said, God, this could be real. This could be it. And it still gives me goosebumps talking about it, but I walked away, and so did the people that were in the car with me, but I could never walk away from the realization that I was a target unlucky. The universe wanted me gone. And almost a year later, I found myself at a psychic for a tarot card reading. She placed the cards in an intricate shape as she revealed my future. Then she looked at her finished work on the table, raised her head, looked me straight in the eye, and said, "Honey, you are one lucky star." I laughed so hard I almost blew the cards off the table. What? I had a fire, a car accident, I almost drowned, I was almost eaten by a dog. I have so many reasons why I am so lucky. I felt like I had a heavy blanket pulled off of me. I couldn't speak. I was lucky. I may be the luckiest person ever. I thought about how I had said someone wants me gone, and I decided that someone really, really wants me to stay here. I was tremendously comforted. And even though I don't completely trust psychics, I gave her a very good tip. Thank you. Is Zayla Jawuk, which to me sounds like a Star Wars hero. So, Zayla Jawuk.
Hi, so this piece is about, it's a letter to my dear best friend. 1 year doesn't seem like a long time, but 1 year without my best friend has turned into the hardest and most painful year I've ever had to experience. I knew that the day you'd physically leave my life would eventually come around, but I never expected it to come so soon. You taught me so much in the short 15 years you had with me, and I've learned that anything is possible as long as I'm determined and motivated. Thinking about your contagious, obnoxious laugh still to this day leaves me in endless smiles and laughs. It's been so long since I last heard that laugh. We shared so many memories that replay in my mind randomly throughout my day that I wanted to write to you about. I will never forget the time that I made you sit in the backseat of the car so I could control the radio. That didn't stop you from dancing and singing and making up your own mix of songs. Looking back and seeing you jamming to random songs will never not make me die of laughter. The fact that you, my 83-year-old best friend, can still see the good in the awful music that's on the radio and dance to it like it's something you listened to back in the 1970s brings back endless smiles to my face. Believe it or not, you taught me a lesson during this. You showed me that no matter what is going on in my life, I shouldn't be afraid to get up and sing and dance. I grew up watching you be nothing but happy, and I still to this day admire you for that, because as I'm growing up, I realize how hard it is to just be happy. Over the past year of you being gone, I realize it's the little things that I remember and value most about you. I remember running home from the bus stop to see you already waiting on the couch for me at home ready to watch our favorite show, SpongeBob. To some, this show may seem pointless, foolish, and even a little inappropriate, but to us, this was our show. I don't remember how this became our show, but for some reason, we loved it. Sitting on that green, ugly couch together in the living room at all times of the day, watching this pointless, yet surprisingly hilarious show together, made me the happiest little girl. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch their favorite show with their favorite person? I can remember how hard we used to laugh when Patrick said something that made absolutely no sense. Laughing until our stomachs hurt, until we couldn't breathe, and until we started coughing and crying uncontrollably. I used to look over at you during this, and I can remember I used to think to myself how nobody could ever break the bond that you and I had once had together. Sitting on that couch that has now been moved to my basement isn't the same without you and SpongeBob. There are times when I catch myself randomly watching SpongeBob in my room, pretending that you're right here with me, laughing at all the little things. If I learned one thing from watching this show with you, it's that it's the little things that matter. Your laugh, our happiness, the couch, and of course, our show. 1,144.2 miles. That's how far we were away from each other for 5 out of the 12 months. Dreading saying goodbye to you as we went back down to Florida for the winter, but exhilarated when you came back here for summer. The highlight of those 5 months was coming to visit you for winter and spring break. Every year for as long as I can remember, I came to see you and spend time with you. Those 3 short weeks in total that I got to see you were the best 3 weeks ever. Since Disney World is something that I live for, I used to make you take me there all the time. We used to always go to downtown Disney and walk along the boardwalk, looking in all the shops. Being the spoiled kid I am, you used to buy me something every time we went, which is at least 2 times a visit. You weren't the type of person to say no to things, so of course I got what I wanted. Looking back on that, I regret making you buy all these things for me, since Disney isn't only the happiest place on earth, but it's also the most expensive place on earth. As I look at all the stuffed animals that you once bought me, it brings back so many different stories and memories of the times you got them for me. For example, this stitched up animal. When we were buying this, there was another stitched up animal that was almost as big as me. Of course, I wanted it. You said you would buy it for me, but I looked at the price tag and it read $70. Although I really wanted it, I knew that the size below that would do because I would never have you spend that much money on a stuffed animal. Refusing to let me put that huge stitch back, I told you it was okay and that I didn't want it anymore because truthfully, I didn't. You were the type of person who would drop anything for the people you love. It was obvious that no matter the price, I wanted something, you would get it for me because you loved me. Although I didn't realize this back then, I realize it now. You taught me it's okay to put others before myself because if they really mean something to you, the price doesn't matter. This lesson is something I value. I've always been the type to put others before myself just like you. And to see my biggest role model demonstrate this to me at such a young age has shaped me to become even more like you. Everybody has a special thing that they do with their best friend. Ours was Money Monkey. This monkey was my favorite stuffed animal when I was 8 years old, and for some reason, you loved it too. I think that the fact that the monkey had soccer clothes on was the reason that you loved it so much. Since you loved soccer, and at the time so did I, this monkey was our favorite. He used to stick money in the monkey's pants randomly, and I would come into my room to find a lot of money in it. This soon became an ongoing thing. Every day I would come home from school, and of course, I'd find money in the pants. I don't exactly remember how this became a thing, but I'm glad that it did. As a child, getting money was the best thing ever, even if it was only a couple dollars. Now that I look back on it, the money wasn't what was so special to me. It was you and the bond that this little stuffed animal created between us. If there's anything that I've learned from you in the life that you lived, it's that no matter how hard life may be, you have to keep on fighting and keep on going, because in the end, it will pay off. In the last couple hours that I got to spend with you, I realized more about you than I had in the last 15 years I've been around you. You were a fighter, you never gave up, and that's something I plan to do also. Nobody had ever seen you cry in your whole 83 years, but for the first time, I did. Crying isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of showing that you care. Those tears that came rolling down your face while I was holding your pale, cold hand show me that you loved me and that even though this is going to be the last time seeing you, everything would be okay. Thank you, Grandpa, for being my biggest role model, for sticking with me when nobody else would, for inspiring me to become who I am today, and for being my one and only best friend. Thank you. Up next is Danielle Giacometti.
Okay. So I'm reading off of a version of this document that is still marked up from when I first got it graded junior year. So while I'm reading this, I get to see all the wonderful things that Mr. Perry just had to say about my writing. Yeah, I got such a mediocre grade. At any given party, the level of its success depends on the desserts present. This is true regardless of type. For example, homecoming is consistently a failure because of the lack of pastries, whereas me sitting alone in my bed choking down a package of ghost-shaped peeps is a grand celebration. But the most superior of all desserts, the emperors, the awe-inspiring gods of our world, and wielders of all-important power, are the famous cookies and brownies. Unfortunately, social rules and the rapidly decaying health of the human body when faced with the dessert aisle dictate that one may only select one type of sweet to consume at a time. It is a heartbreaking yet necessary regulation. The following is a guide on the important choices you will face. That is, depending on what you mean by choice. I'm really just telling you what to do, and you should always do what I say. Cookies will most frequently be the circular ones. They are flattish and reminiscent of a pancake that has been improved enormously by chocolate chips. Cookies are versatile and appropriate for a number of circumstances, but they have their place nonetheless. It's a little bit like those guys that say dress for your body / skin color / hair color. No one wants to admit that certain styles look better on different kinds of people, but it's true. I'm still a little bit bitter that purple is supposed to look best on blondes. Blondes always get the best out of life. These lovely creatures, the cookies, not the blondes, not that blondes can be perfectly lovely creatures, are best enjoyed either alone or amongst small, close groups of friends. Parties are less ideal because it's too easy to eat more than you should have, and all of a sudden you find yourself bent over a kitchen sink while you vomit, and the Alvin and Chipmunks soundtrack plays in the background, and you go to bed shaky and empty inside, literally. And when someone checks on you, you say everything's good, but when in reality you're praying for darkness to overtake you. If you do encounter these at a celebration and there are no brownies present, sneakily grab 3 cookies, squish them together around the edges, and try not to look suspicious despite your highly suspicious nature. Brownies, on the other hand, are naturally destined for parties. Eating a brownie alone in the dark of your living room looks sad. Eating a brownie with 20 people around you looks classy, especially if it's a Christmas party and you're wearing a red sweater like the rich suburbanites in JCPenney commercials, or the hot soul made in an HBO show. On a technical level, brownies tend to be more uniform in size and shape, making them less likely than cookies to start fistfights, and one can be dense enough to fill up your average belly. Both of these sweets have downfalls, however. I know it's difficult to think that they are not infallible, say, fallible, but certain truths must be faced. For example, sometimes distant family members put things in the desserts, like coconuts or almonds. You must forgive these ignorant, simple folk. They know not of the ways of the world. Also, be careful to not alienate the listener when reading an essay by potentially insulting them or their distant family members. I'm educating them, it's okay. It's okay to justify your wrongdoings with rephrasing. Next up is Ariel Brown.
Hey, how's it going? So they said that I cannot drop the F-bomb, so I'm going to be up here today dropping anything but the F-bomb. So, shout out to Miss Fidala's 8th hour class and Mr. Reed's 8th hour. Hey guys, all right. Also, Mom and Dad, if you're taking pictures, please do not zoom in because my face is peeling because of the cold and I look gross. So thank you. I look like a lizard, and some of you may think that's cool, but it's not. It's really gross. So, I wrote a piece about drug smuggling. Woo, crazy. So, let's get started. My piece is called Smuggler. There was a humming noise in the back of Jackson's head and a ringing in his ears. Sweat glistened on his browning forehead. Jackson looked up at the man who was standing across the dirt road from him. He didn't quite understand why he insisted on standing on opposite sides of the road, or why he refused to give him his name. Something about know thy enemy, but from what Jackson understood, they were on the same team. He studied his companion for a moment. Compared to the sand and dead shrubbery around them, the man was pale. He wasn't white. Albino, maybe, but not white. He had a thick Hispanic accent and jet black hair that was oiled back as if to be kept out of his face, which seemed to be freshly shaven. Hey, Jackson called. No response. Maybe he didn't hear him. Hey, he called louder. Still no response. Hey, sweetheart! Jackson shouted angrily. The man looked up. You sure you got the time right? Because we've been standing here for at least 3 hours and I haven't seen any cars whatsoever. The man sighed and checked his watch. Calm down. The hare also rushed to win the race, yet it was the tortoise that won. Jackson clenched his fist. Listen, jackass, I haven't been standing here for 3 goddamn hours just to talk about Aesop's fables with some guy that looks like he's married to a bag of flour. Jackson walked towards the man across the dirt pathway, ready to get in his face in hopes to scare him and hurry this process up a little. But to Jackson's surprise, he pulled out a gun and began shouting. Jackson froze in the middle of the road, where the man met him halfway, holding the gun to his head, screaming at him in Spanish. His heart was pounding, and the ringing in his ears was now a siren, calling out for help. He put his hands on the back of his neck and kneeled in front of him. Oh, shit, Jackson thought. Oh, God, no. It was then Jackson thought about his mom. When he was little and in a predicament, she would always pull out this little purple bracelet with 4 black letters on it. What would Jesus do? What good is Jesus going to do me now? WWJBD. Yeah, that's good. What would James Bond do? If I make it out of this alive, I'm probably going to put that on a t-shirt or something. Jackson looked up at the man who was still yelling at him and used the balls of his feet to propel himself forward, throwing the man off guard, causing him to fall to the ground. Dust flew up from where the man fell, and Jackson sprung further into action. He reached for the gun, which was loosely hanging in the tips of the man's fingers. While still recovering from his fall, Jackson finally had it. He scurried backwards. Well, the man chuckled. What do you know, the hare has become the tortoise. Jackson's hand shook as he pointed the gun at the man who was still on the ground. He pulled the trigger. Sam flew up from the spot on the ground where Jackson shot, leaving the man on the ground wide-eyed and breathless and seemingly wetter than he was before. Refusing to turn around, Jackson walked back to a spot on the other side of the room with the gun still trembling in his hands. Talk about knowing my enemy, Jackson thought. About an hour after the scuffle between Jackson and the man across the street, a beat-up, windowless black man made its way down the bumpy road. Finally, Jackson said, unbuttoning the top 2 buttons on his floor button-down and dusting the sand off his cargo shorts. Don't feel relieved, the man across the street said. The journey isn't over yet. Whatever you say, muchacho. Jackson glared, tightening the grip on the gun in his hand. The van lurched to a halt a few feet from where Jackson stood, and the exhaust stung his nostrils and made his eyes water. Great, not only am I getting picked up in a rapist van, it stinks too, Jackson muttered. You don't smell too good yourself, muchacho. Jackson whirled around. You sneaky son of a bitch. His companion smirked. For your information, I did put deodorant on this morning. I didn't just pour a bottle of Old Spice on myself. At least I smell good, the man retorted. Well, in the middle of their conversation, the van door slid open, revealing a heavy-set black man that seemed to be sweating more than Jackson and the albino man combined, even though he was in an air-conditioned vehicle. Hey there, I'm Sam, he smiled, extending his hand. Jackson shook his hand and introduced himself. Hey Sam, the man behind him nodded in greeting. Well, come on in, new guy, I'll fill you in as soon as we get rolling. The albino pushed past Jackson and climbed into the back of the car with Sam. Jackson rolled his shoulders and stepped forward right into Sam's hand. 2 rules before you get in my van, he said. First of all, no gun, get rid of it. Jackson had totally forgotten about the gun in his hand. He shrugged and chucked it as far as he could into the brush, glancing back at his companion, who watched in horror as the gun sailed through the air. Next rule, Sam continued, lose that fedora. That isn't a fashion statement or a trend, you look like an idiot. Jackson's body grew rigid. I'll have you know my dead grandmother gave me this fedora. Did she really? Sam asked, putting his hand on his hip. Well, no, but if she did, would you let me keep it? Take off the damn fedora. Jackson took off the fedora and frowned. Fine. Farewell, good friend, Jackson whispered, lightly frisbeeing the hat to the ground. All right, let's get this show on the road, Sam said, allowing Jackson in the back of the van, which conveniently had no seats. The van sped off, leaving the dirt road and Jackson's fedora in the dust. Up next is Christine Addison.
Okay, so I'm reading a couple poems that I wrote. The first one is called Confidence. Living inside most people, she holds her head up high. The only thing that can break her are the words passing by. Confidence is a duality which many do not know. One of these faces is happy, the other never glows. Her happy side is beautiful, and it's the side that we see most. It's the dressing on her salad, or the butter on her toast. She can change the can'ts into cans by making strengths out of your fears. She'll always be there to catch you and wipe away your tears. She tells you to never give up and never to give in. She keeps you fighting that fight so the devil cannot win. Through the hurt and the pain, the sorrow and the shame, she understands your feelings and reminds you tomorrow is never the same. But just like you and me, confidence can start to feel low. First she tries to run away, and then she loses her glow. This is the side of confidence that nobody wants to see, but lying in our beds at night, we must face reality. Confidence is very powerful, and when she starts to fall, she will drag you right down with her, not even letting you crawl. After days of feeling down, she starts to come back to life. Confidence is trying to rebound to tell you it's all right. Even with all the darkness, the times of light still shine through, and before you know it, she has come, confidence to the rescue. She knows when you need her the most, and you never have to call, for she is always looking after you, and would hate to see you fall. Every time you start to shake, there's a reason you make it through. That voice you hear saying it'll be okay is confidence guiding you. Amanda. Also, a quick shout out to my gigantic class of 9. The next one is called She's Tired. She's tired. Tired of the constancy of judgment. Tired of hiding who she really is,
tired of trying to stay strong. She's tired of pretending to be happy when all she wants to do is cry. Tired of not being able to let go of all the pain and emotions that consume her. Tired of feeling worthless. She's tired of being put down by the people she felt closest to. Tired of dreaming of a life she will never have. Tired of not being good enough. She's tired of remembering how she used to be so happy. Tired of the blame she puts on herself daily. Tired of the anger. She's tired of crying alone so nobody can hear. Tired of the fear of being judged, hurt, and alone. Tired of failing. She's tired of feeling stuck like a tree in the ground, unable to freely move. Tired of feeling forgotten, so forgotten that nobody would notice if she was gone. Tired of feeling insecure. She's tired of holding on, tired of being herself, tired of being tired. And then my last one was actually inspired by Mary Fawn's. I decided I was going to try and write a lithogram. The letter that has the same sound as what's on your face. The only vowel that can set me apart from the rest of the world. The vowel that's used by me the most, the one my poetry counted on. You say you can't make a poem that doesn't have a key vowel, but that's not true. How does one successfully create a true work of art when they can't talk about themselves? Each person possesses an unmeasurable amount of talent that they need to use. When they leave out that talent, the story loses every last ounce of value. Once you take yourself out of any of your own work, you may as well sell the work to someone else for them to own. But the same can be true for your heart. Once you place your heart under someone else's control, you lose yourself. You lose the person you once were and the person you could have become. So, to every last person out there, love yourself. Don't throw away any part of who you are, because once you do that, there's no undo button. Your presence has a value that you'll never understand, and that's perfectly okay. So don't put yourself lower than the rest just because you don't see what good you do. Next up is Hannah Murakami.
Thanks, guys. Quick shout out to my 8th hour. Alright. So last year my Lang teacher and the Queen of English, Mrs. Eng, she advised us to hold off on our college essays until our senior year in case we had a profound experience over the summer. And so thanks to my friend Kaylin Brick, I had the opportunity to meet some pretty inspiring people through waitressing at the Palatine Inn. So thanks to Kaylin for the job and my coworkers for this story. Hope you like it. Bonita, ¿cómo estás? How are you, beautiful? I translate in my head as I'm greeted by a genuinely caring grin. Ahora estoy contenta. You too? Now I'm happy. How are you? This is entirely true. Seeing my favorite busboy at the Palatine Inn automatically makes my day brighter. Though our conversation only continues for a few minutes before Hector and I have to get back to work, the twinkle in his eyes and heartfelt concern for my well-being energizes me for my shift. While I've been friendly with the busboys from the time I started waitressing, I preferred the familiar female chatter, listening to my fellow waitresses complain about Trump, explaining my own worries about college applications, and begging them to take a table from my section whenever another kid from Fremd sat there. They seemed to pay little attention to the busboys, so I would simply give the boys a sheepish grin, pretending I did not have years of Spanish in my head. The busboys are always overly helpful, and they do everything with a smile. Yet, unbeknownst to them, they are doing even more for me. In the midst of washing dishes, clearing and setting the tables, and doing all of the janitorial work, they are enriching my life. Hector jokes with me in the back, teaching me salsa moves and encouraging me to speak Spanish, knowing I'm embarrassed about my accent. One day, as I was talking to my boss, Hector discovered that he is only about 12 years older than me, though he has been working at the restaurant since I ate there as a child. He left everything he knew in Mexico to move here. Hector's story made me begin to view him in a different light, in awe of sorts, gaining a new appreciation for him and his constant cheerfulness. Halfway through their 15-hour shifts, the men continue to carry heavy bins full of dishes to the back,
and deal with constant requests from the waitresses and customers. Still, while singing and whistling Spanish pop songs with me. The pleasure that Hector takes in life and the energy that he brings into mine is truly moving. When he told me about his fiancée, who waited years to join him in America, and their City Hall wedding, I reevaluated my ideals. As I transitioned from friends to coworkers with Hector, he became a constant reminder of what is truly important in life. I watch him work harder than most of my classmates ever will, earning a fraction of the salaries that we hope to earn after college, and maintaining an appreciation for life that many teens believe we are too mature to possess. It was easy to get caught up in the same superficial world as the kids that I was originally too embarrassed to serve food to, forgetting that there is so much more to life than my friends' filtered Instagram photos and the newest Jeep in Fremd's parking lot. Through the opportunity to work alongside someone like Hector, who celebrates each day with a passion for making the most of his situation, I'm reminded of how precious and meaningful the simple joys of life are, the salsa moves, inside jokes, and making someone laugh. Hector reminds me that I do not need an extravagant wedding to have a happy marriage, and the finest things in life are not guaranteed with six-figure paychecks. I now walk up to tables of teens and through life with the same bounce that is in Hector's step, trying to teach others what he taught me. Hector always asks how I'm doing, and now I know that it's because he wants to see me as fulfilled as he is. Me encanta tu sonrisa, bonita, es mi favorita. I love your smile, it's my favorite. And next up is my classmate and teammate, the lovely Rebecca Kim.
I wrote this my sophomore year, and 2 years later, here it is. Letter to anyone who needs it. You made it, love, but still a journey of finding yourself. Be happy now for this moment is yours, but also realize the world isn't going to stop because you did. The cliches become reality when you're happy, but what happens when you're sad? They become fairy tales and you manipulate yourself into thinking you're unworthy of greatness, but you are worthy. You make excuses for those who disappoint you, thinking, oh, you know, they must be having a bad day, or dang, I know they just failed a test. But you never hold that standard for yourself. You want to bring those around you on a higher pedestal, but that's not fair. It's not fair that you're in shackles while everyone else seems to be fine. I'm telling you, it's a fight out there and you must have the advantage now. While everyone is fighting the good fight, the only cause you're fighting for is yourself. You cannot let the enemy defeat you, not again, and it's hard, I know, but you're strong and you can do it. You are the puppet and the puppet master. Let the strings guide you, but stand firm and take control. If you find yourself losing again, think of this moment, the moment where you're happy, healthy, beautiful, vibrant, powerful you. This is your stronghold. Focus, focus, focus. Days, weeks, and even months will come where you think it's never going to end. The stress, the pressure, Donald Trump's presidency, but it will pass. Forget everything around you for just a second. Ignore prom dresses, ignore GPA, that stats test tomorrow, and think about your life. This moment is a product of everything you've gone through. Everyone always says to live in the now, but don't, because there's so much more to live for. So go ahead and be selfish for once. Don't depend on the shoulders of others when yours are so tattered and worn. Be your own hero today and fly. I believe in you. Don't lose sight of yourself. You made it. You really made it. And I'm so proud of you. Thank you.